Okay, good morning, everyone. While we wait for any who might still be attending or for those watching at home, please feel free to email us at bpw.beautifylagrant@lacity.org to confirm your attendance today or that you have seen the video. For those viewing us live, feel free to also use the chat. Please message us your name and your project name. With that, we will go ahead and begin. So good morning, everyone. My name is Karina Casillas. I'm a community coordinator with the Office of Community Beautification. Presenting with me today, we have Assistant Director Jerry Valido from our Adopt a Median program. Again, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us virtually today as we share important information about your next steps. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So once again, congratulations to all of those who are here today. We are very excited to see you all get started with your projects, and we'll do our best to help guide you through all of those next steps, the permits, and what we're going to go over today, in addition to that, will be the timeframes. We're going to go over the Angelino card, which is how we will be providing payments to everybody. And then we'll be closing out today's session with a Q&A and our contact information, so that if you have any additional questions beyond today, you can easily get a hold of us via phone or email. So regarding general timelines, the project completion is set for approximately 9 months from the notification email. So this means that at this time, you can start mobilization, meetings, or material gathering. But before you break ground on your project, this is where everyone will need the approved permits or any department paperwork from the corresponding agencies. So permits, if applicable to your project, do take anywhere from approximately 3 to 6 months for the approval process, if not sooner. So I will let, in the later slides, I'll let Jerry go into that further. Regarding the Angelino card, so once that approval process is complete, meaning we have a copy of those permits that the permit has been granted to your team and your project, and any necessary permissions have been approved, only then will the funding be dispersed, and that will be through the Angelino card. So when we get into that slide, I'll provide more information on that later as well. In terms of, again, your project timelines, at around the 5th or 6th month, we will be doing a check-in on everyone's progress thus far, and to help guide you through the second deposit if it's not yet complete. So as we mentioned before, like the funding will be broken up into 3 different payments. Around the 7th or 8th month, if you have then not yet received that third deposit, then we can also help follow up and guide you through any necessary paperwork or permits that might still be needed by that point. So we are hoping that at the end of those 9 months, that most, if not all of your projects should be complete. If you do run into any type of challenges with this timeline, please do communicate that with us as soon as possible. We do provide extensions. It's very understandable that due to COVID, certain things may be delayed. And especially right now, as we're getting into the holidays, there may be additional delays due to that as well. So just let us know, please communicate that, and we will try to accommodate as best as possible. So right now, I want to get into the very important step of permits and authorizations. So for that, I will pass it on to my colleague, Jerry, to go into the details.
Great. Thank you very much, Karina. Good morning again, everyone. I echo Karina's congratulations to all of you in getting this far in the process. Once again, my name is Jerry Valido. I'm the Assistant Director with the Office of Community Beautification. And I also am the Program Manager with the Adopt a Median program. Some of you may be familiar with the Adopt a Median program. During this time of year, Adopt a Median collaborates with the grant program in the sense that we provide the review and authorization aspect of the KLAB grant program as far as the projects are concerned. So on the screen, you'll see that there are two types of projects that constituent groups are able to apply for. And those are projects in the public space or in the public right of way. Okay, so let's take a look at those a little closer. So next slide, please. Thank you. So projects in the public spaces, just because it's in a public space, it doesn't always mean it's in the public right of way. So a public space would be something along the lines of a school, a walking trail, or a bike path, a park, areas of the city where it is accessible by the public, but these spaces are not necessarily under the jurisdiction of the Department of Public Works. They could be under the jurisdiction of the Department of Recreation and Parks, the Department of Transportation, the Department of General Services, more than likely under some city entity, but not Public Works. Okay, and that will play a role, and I'll explain that in a second. So let's go into the next slide, which talks about projects in the public right of way. Projects in the public right of way essentially entail projects that are installed on those areas that are under the Department of Public Works jurisdiction. So now we're talking about median islands, sidewalks, typically, sometimes alleyways. All of those particular spaces are under the jurisdiction and the oversight of the Department of Public Works. So why is this important? It's important because we have to understand who will be the permitting authority or the authority to authorize the project to be installed in these spaces. So we move to the next slide. Part of what entails, or I should say, part of the permit acquisition process is being able to submit the proper documentation to those agencies who oversee the particular area where your project is being proposed for installation. Typically on projects being installed in the public right of way, and I'm going to talk about the Adopted Median program here for just a second. The KLAB grant program utilizes the same parameters that we have in the Adopted Median program. So in the Adopted Median program, when a project comes through our shop and it's approved and it's adopted by the Board of Public Works, what we do is we waive the permit fees for the constituent group. And this is what will happen with your projects as well. So essentially, when you're installing something in the public right of way, we're dealing with two types of permits, an A permit and a revocable permit. So the definition of an A permit is basically a permit that's used only for the repair, construction, or reconstruction of curbs, sidewalks, driveway approaches, or gutters, and work within a public easement. So essentially, an A permit allows you to do the work in the public right of way. The revocable permit grants conditional encroachment of the public right of way by private parties who are not authorized to occupy the public right of way. So the A permit allows you to do the work. The revocable permit allows you to keep the project there. That's why it's called revocable, because at any point in time, the permit can be revoked and the project can be, taken out of the public right of way as well, or removed from the public right of way as well. So those two permit fees are waived. Now, there are some projects, and I don't think we have any in this group, but just FYI, there are projects that entail a B permit. And a B permit is typically issued for extensive public works improvements, including things like the widening of streets and alleys, the changing of the existing street grade, construction of bridges, retaining walls, installation of sewer drains, storm drains, stuff like that. We don't cover the permit fees for that. That's out of the purview of our program. So essentially these projects that come through the KLAB grant program and the adaptive metering program are not as involved. So typically they won't require a B permit. But if they did, that is something that we would not cover the cost of. So now jumping back to what we see on the screen, I believe many of you may have already filled these forms out. The maintenance agreement is essentially an agreement between the city and the constituent group as to who will be maintaining the project once it's installed. And the project is to be maintained by the constituent group in perpetuity. So the city will relinquish its maintenance responsibilities over the project site, and obviously the project itself we're not going to touch. So that's something that the constituent group will have to handle on their own. The liability waivers essentially release the city from any kind of liability. And if you haven't already received that from me, I'll get all this stuff out to you, and there are explanations there from our risk manager's office as to exactly what the liability waivers cover. Now, the important one is number 3, the council district letter on the official letterhead signed by a council member. Now, we're at a very interesting time right now where the city government is in flux. And I just had a conversation yesterday with a constituent who is applying for an adoptive median project in, I believe it's CD. It's either De Leon's district or Cedillo's district, one of those two. And we were talking, I think it was Cedillo actually, and he's going to be out of office at the end of the year, but they have a signed letter from him. So if you have a signed letter from a currently sitting council member, we will honor it with the proviso that there may come a point in time later on down the road where it could be flagged by the Board of Public Works if your project gets that far, and they may say, you know what, there's a new council member sitting in this district, we should get their approval for this project before we pass it through. So I'm just putting that out there to everyone because that is a likely, there's a likelihood of that happening, and I don't want anyone to get caught off guard with that. Again, we are able to facilitate these projects, but again, the council members' approval is paramount. So we need to make sure we get that done. The last part of it, or number 4, I should say, is the neighborhood partnership agreement. And essentially, the neighborhood partnership agreement will talk about the scope of work and a little history on the project. And that's essentially an agreement between OCB and the constituent group stating what our responsibilities are and how we will assist you along the way during this process. And even afterwards, if you want to have a community cleanup or something like that in the area of the installation, maybe you're putting in a memorial rose garden or something like that, and you want to have a big landscaping cleanup day, we can provide the tools for free. We can loan those to you. So it kind of outlines what we'll do, and it also outlines the history of your project and what the scope of work is. Was that my last slide? Oh, okay, this is my last slide. So I know that was a lot of information that I threw at you. As Karina stated earlier, this is being recorded, so you can always go back and listen to it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at the address you see on your screen. Email is always the best, just because I can typically pick up my emails anywhere I am. I can't always answer my phone. In fact, I think I just had 3 phone calls, and obviously I'm in a meeting, so I can't pick those up right now. But if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. If you can't get a hold of me, try to reach out to Karina, and she'll get a hold of me, and one way or another, we'll get your questions answered and your information back to you. Okay, so with that, I'll pass it back to Karina. And again, if you have any questions regarding this process, we'll hold them until the end of this presentation, and I can take those at that time.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jerry. So moving forward, and regarding the funding, as we mentioned in the email, funding will be pending currently due to the board having to confirm our recommendations for all of those of you who are grantees. As Jerry mentioned, so with any of the items in terms of what funding can and cannot be used for, we have that it can be used for professional services, materials and supplies, equipment rental, as long as it is items that, for example, our warehouse does not provide for free. So as Jerry mentioned, those tools are available for loan. Once we go through into the specifics of your project, you can let us know which tools you'll be needing, and we can go ahead and have those delivered, or you can pick those up at the warehouse. I also do want to make note that any awarded funds cannot be used to pay for any work performed by managing the project. Miscellaneous items such as t-shirts, design services, books, etc. Any trainees or other training costs that would be needed for your project. Any advertisements, any ongoing maintenance expenses, or reimbursements for purchases prior to award notification. So again, while this group is the list of recommended grantees for this year's cycle, the Beautify LA grant, the board still does need to confirm those decisions. So we'll go a little bit more into the board report as well. And then regarding funds, as we did mention, this year we are providing partial payments using the Angelino card. So with the Angelino card, we are granting each project, it's one card per project. So this is ideally something that your project manager will be handling. So funds will not be in check form. So these cards are going to be used for grant items or materials only. So it is important to note not to use your own funds for purchases you intend to be covered by the Beautify LA grant. So we are not providing, how would I say, like reimbursements. So your Angelino card will be the item that you're going to use to purchase any project-related approved items. So in order to receive, as we mentioned, there's 3 different installments of the card. So for the first one, it'll be $1,000. In order to receive that second installment, we will need receipts from that first 1,000. And if you have estimates for the next 800, so any estimates, any if this is a contractor that you will be using, as soon as you provide those, we can upload the next installment of the funding. And then same thing, before you receive the final 700, we'll need receipts for the 800 or any estimate that you have for the 700 amount. So there are currently no set timelines for the disbursements. It depends on the release of funds for whenever the documentation needed is provided. So again, reminder, first steps, first we will need those permits to ensure that everybody has the right authorization to do so. And once the board votes on the list of recommended grantees, then we can get started with those first disbursements. So we'll be providing more information on the Board of Public Works meeting. Currently, due to the holidays, we will be trying to get that in before Thanksgiving. We'll be providing that update along with the link for those who would like to view. There's no requirement to necessarily attend the board hearing, but if you'd like to participate, we will be providing that link for viewing purposes. Regarding actually receiving the Angelino card, so once the board has voted, we'll be following up via email with a series of a pickup date of when you can pick up your Angelino card. So these will be picked up at Los Angeles City Hall. And I'll be providing more details for that in that subsequent email. I do ask that you bring your driver's license, and we will have everyone sign for their card. So these cards are going to be provided under a general name, but it is tied to your specific project. So you'll be responsible for your credit card. And then reminder, these cards will not yet be uploaded until all of the requested paperwork and permits are completed. If for whatever reason you do happen to misplace your card, please do let us know ASAP so we can do the necessary steps to have another one ordered in a timely fashion and get that back to you. The same goes whether or not there were funds already loaded up on the card. If for whatever reason it's been misplaced or you forgot where it was located, do let us know so we can try to recover the funds before they're accidentally used by anyone else. Also regarding funding, we do want to provide a reminder for the match. So this is a matching fund grant, which does require organizations to match a minimum of 25% of the grant amount or more through contributions. So contributions include the value of discounts, donations, any additional outside funds, whether donated or discounted materials as well. And we also are counting volunteer time. So I believe right now the value for that might be around, I believe it increased. I know last year we were valued at $27.20 an hour. We can go ahead and provide that update as well via email. So regarding the match, please make sure that you have any receipts or verification or proof for that. Some examples of it include the copy of a check that was written, if it's donated money, volunteer hours, tracking sheet. Again, please make sure to document your match as you receive any either items, times, or donations. This will be requested at the end of the 9 months to fully close out your project and to ensure that you have provided the necessary matching funds. Please also include any documented discounts as well. For example, whether it's a written statement, a photo, or an official letter. For example, Home Depot does provide letterhead, or if it shows in the receipt, that also works as well. So make sure you document however you'll be receiving or building up to your match. Regarding volunteers, so it is in your best interest to make sure that you all are covered to use a sign-in and a sign-out sheet. Make sure that with that sheet you do show any time checked in or time that they checked out. Their name, ideally their full name if possible, and the location of where they were working, whether it was on site or if they were gathering, for example, donations, what that location might be. For projects in the public right-of-way or any permitted projects, we do offer a limited liability form which covers volunteers while working on the project. Do make sure though, if you're using a third-party contractor, that they are also covered, whether within their own liability. I do believe that we cover that as well under ours. For any projects in public spaces, do make sure that you obtain any necessary or appropriate paperwork from your sponsoring entity or department. I think for this series of grantees, that might only be applicable to 1 or 2 projects. And with that, of course, we're going to work with all of you to help guide you through this process and to ensure the longevity of these projects. Provided here on this slide, we have our contact information. That is my direct number. Please also feel free, you can use email to contact us, and along with our social media, so that you can also tag us in the process of your projects. Feel free to post any before pictures, any in progress pictures, and of course, we always love the comparison of a before and after. So with that, before we move on to questions, again, thank you to everybody. Reminder that we are here to help you through this process to make sure that it goes through as smoothly as possible. Regarding any updates or next steps, so we'll be letting you know once we get the board date for their verification of the grantees. Again, we'll be providing that link via email as well for viewing purposes, along with a copy of this recording in case you need to go over any of the information provided. So at this time, I would like to open it up to any questions. Feel free to either raise your hand, or if there's any in the chat, we can do that as well. So I see Janine Payne. Do you have a question, Janine? I think you're on mute in case you can hear us.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Yes, I had my hand up, but I was on mute. Hi.
Hello.
The question is, who is the debit card made out to?
So the cards will be blank. There's no specific name. It's specifically tied to your project name.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Mhm.
So, okay, then I come pick it up and
Yes.
thanks.
So we'll be providing that information via email. We'll send out probably within either 1 or 2 dates where you can pick up your card at City Hall. Ideally, it'd be nice if your project manager would be the one picking that up, since it will essentially be their name on the card. But it's still anybody within that project can use the card. So please make sure you don't lose that card as well. And then your contact information will be tied to that card for whatever reason. It functions as a debit credit card. So the card is also, we've had some projects, for example, use it through Venmo in order to Venmo a professional as well, or for any contracting services. Though the card, same way as a credit or debit card, you can swipe for it. I believe it has a chip, so it can also be tapped for payment purposes.
Thank you. That sounds very convenient.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions regarding next steps? Again, permit process, which we'll be going through. You can start going through that, but we do ask that no ground be broken or nothing yet be planted, if that's the case, until we have not only the board's confirmation, but we have any necessary permits. I do see another hand, Mariah.
Yes. Hi. Thank you
Hello,
so
good morning.
much. This has been great. And thank you for making us finalists. My question is, how long till, so specifically, I mean, Jerry knows I reached out to him regarding a concern about a B permit being applicable and that causing delays. How long before this is passed along to like LA Streets and communications with them being started?
Yeah, I'll let Jerry take that one.
Hi, Mariah. Good question. So, with the grant program projects, the review process is a bit more expedited than a typical Adopt a Median project, because the reviewing agencies understand that this particular grant process is on a bit of a timeline. So when we get your applications in, as soon as I have everything in the package that's needed, I do the intake, which doesn't take very long. And then I go ahead and I forward it to the reviewing agencies for review with the note that this is a KLAB grant project. We're on a timeline. It's going to board whenever. So they're pretty good at being able to push these things through. In a manner of speaking, it's kind of nice that there aren't that many applicants this time. It's too bad that there aren't, but the fact that there aren't that many this time means that we're not bogging down the reviewing agencies with a bunch of applications and a bunch of packages that they have to review. So hopefully it'll be even a little quicker.
That's wonderful news. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. Are there any other questions regarding whether it's access to the funds or the current timeline? Janine, I do see your hand. Go ahead, please.
I have another question.
Yes, go ahead.
Our project was originally done by the Department of Transportation, and we're redoing it and improving it. And they have a whole diagram, and they had grants. Oh, I think it's quite a few years ago, but we're wondering if we need new grants. I mean, are we gonna need new permits, or is it sort of was permitted under the old system? I mean, it was already permitted, so we're not sure how that works, or who we would talk to.
I believe this is a question for Jerry as well. Jerry?
So, Janine, what type of project is it again?
We're planting trees and we're planting, cleaning up and mulching and planting other shrubs and stuff along. It's along an alleyway, but it's definitely city property. Yeah,
Is
and
this
then
the Tabor Alley one?
Tabor Court. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I got you covered on that one. I already have my colleagues at DOT on standby. They're aware of it, so don't worry about that.
Okay. Wow. Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Again, just for those who are viewing the recording at a later time, if you have any specific questions regarding your project, you can also go ahead and give us a call, send us an email with any details. I can go ahead and then also connect you with Jerry for any questions regarding the permits. And then I guess to wrap up, so please keep an eye out for future emails, one regarding the Angelino card pickup date and time, and then a second email regarding the board meeting where they will be confirming our list of finalists and making you all official grantees of the Beautify LA grant. So if at this time there are no further questions, I just want to say thank you again, all of those of you who attended live. If anything does come up, please feel free to give us a call or an email, and we will answer as best as possible in a timely fashion. With that, thank you all, and that does wrap up today's workshop regarding the grantee orientation.
Thank you.
Everybody for participating.
Thank you both.
Yes, thank you all.